In the photo, let's see how the client's eyelashes appeared at the end of the treatment carried 3 weeks ago. Let's review the diagram that explains the life cycle of eyelashes. We see that the 200 eyelashes per eyelid have a duration of about 100 days, and each of them born, grow, develop, and fall autonomously, so they fall on average 3 eyelashes per day for eyelid and are replaced by new hairs protruding from the same follicle. After 3 weeks from treatment, our client's eyelashes look like this. We review the customer form. We had performed the doll effect with Russian volume and Kim Kardashian design. We had used 7th lengths, performing 8mm length in the inner angle and 11mm length on the central part of the eyelid. We had faded the base effect using 12 to 13mm rays, obtaining design Kim Kardashian. We have used curl C in 0.07mm thickness. We start the retouching. After applying the patch, we clean with micellar water, using the microbrush, because the cotton bud could leave cotton fiber traces, after which we apply the primer. We observe that some eyelashes have been replaced, so we find new eyelashes, at least 50 per eyelid, which if treated today will last at least 80 days. We give a quick check and we remove the synthetic lashes that with the growth of the natural eyelash have moved forward. Using the tweezers, grasp the tip of the fan and with a second pair of tweezers, grab the edge of the natural eyelash, dividing them by pulling sideways. We report the scheme on the patch, as in the customer form. Remember, even if the customer asks us for some changes, we still report the old pattern that remains a reference point. In this case, the customer has asked for some 13mm length more, or 2 more fans, so the pattern remains unchanged. The retouch usually lasts less. If 50% of the eyelashes are in place, the time does not halve, but it is reduced by about 30%. Usually, within 3 weeks, the cost of retouching is about 70% of the initial cost. We begin to add the missing lashes, and the rays are added first. Observe the quality of natural eyelashes that are to be treated. We have little hair because the one we had left out then, today have become strong and mature eyelashes, easily separable and workable. Taking advantage of this peculiarity, we could offer the customer a retouch within the 2 weeks at a special price. Actually, more than a replacement of the dropped eyelashes, retouching will be an additional filling. You will notice that after a short-term retouching, 10 days at most 2 weeks, the next retouch can be fixed after a month or more. The design will hold much longer. Remember, in the inner angle, the eyelid and eyelashes are weaker, and it is good practice not to make this area too heavy and apply fans of 3 to 4D. We direct them towards the nasal septum. Pay particular attention to the lashes in the outer angle. There we will apply light and shorter fans. We begin to add important bundles, obviously on the eyelashes that allow it. If the direction or the crease of the natural eyelash does not give us a desired surface of adhesion, we take advantage of the available one and give the necessary direction to the eyelash just applied. The retouching is the example of carcass processing par excellence. If you have treated one eye at a time, move from one part of the eyelid to the other to allow the glue dry well. This eyelash is short, so I apply a light 3D fan, but I am aware that in a few days, if the eyelash will lengthen, it is likely that protruding the synthetic edge will come off. But I do not know how long it will take, and it is not a certainty. Then I treat it. We have finished the right eye brush and we can also remove the patch. And let's move to the right eye. The initial procedure is standard. We apply the patch, we report the design scheme. Before applying the primer, I want to show you in detail the state of the eyelashes, or rather, how many actually are missing. We know that the two parts of our body, right and left, are not perfectly symmetrical. Thus, an eye or an eyebrow, but also feet and ears, are slightly different from each other. And so that on one eye you will find more eyelashes and on the other less. We detach mechanically without using the remover those eyelashes that have moved forward or which have partly detached from the natural lash. Also, the replacement cycle can be faster on one eye than the other. So, do not think that it was your mistake if one of the eyelids has less lashes than the other. It is a phenomenon that occurs due to natural causes. In fact, on this eye we find more synthetic eyelashes still in place than on the left eye. We clean with micellar water and apply the primer. We leave a minute to dry and start with the addition of synthetic lashes. Even if we're adjusting a treatment with Russian volumes, in the inside angle we do not exceed. We limit the fans to 3 or 4D. Believe me, a 5 to 7D fan is too heavy for this area of the eyelid. They would fall before and you will end up with the inside angle discovered after a few days. Do not weigh too much the very first lashes in the outer angle. Instead of applying fans 5D, start it with minor fans like 3 or 4D. On the fine and short eyelashes, we limit the fans to 2D, and after application we will follow it for a moment to ensure the optimal direction and adhesion. Always discharge excess glue. The drop of glue, if we apply it as is, becomes an annoying sketch that compromises the aesthetics and professionalism of the work. When in the other tweezers you already have the formed fan, to find the lash on which you want it to apply, you can help it with your fingers. We pay particular attention to applying overlapping natural lashes. The fan goes only on a lash, separate well. Look carefully. Here we can clearly distinguish the arrangement of eyelashes in two rows. We will apply lighter fans. If we apply below and above fans 5D and over, we'd have an excessive thickening at this point compared to other areas on the eyelid. And this is not foreseen by our design. To create greater feints in some points of the eyelid must be a deliberate and controlled maneuver of some designs in fact, especially corrective ones it is expected. The thickening peaks in some points are not made by chance. We always discharge excess glue on the patch. If the eyelash just applied is particularly close to the patch, still wet, it could rest on the eyelashes of the lower rows. Lift it up with the tweezers and hold it for a moment to avoid unwanted adhesion. We are closing the inner angle, and this is one of the last fans that we orientate towards the nasal septum. We find a shorter lash, and the good practice requires a light fan. In fact, we apply a 3D fan. And while we check unwanted stickers, we look for hidden lashes, not yet treated. We are in the central part of the eyelid. The verse that we begin to give to the fans, in fact, becomes perpendicular, no longer on one side or the other, but frontal orientation. Here too we help each other with our fingers. For this, we have to disinfect the hands before the treatment begins. Observe well. In this area, all the eyelashes are young. It is very likely that they will lengthen, so we can apply to a minimum necessary distance. We perform here fans of 11 mm from the basic effect, and therefore have no raise. In a few days, some of these fans will advance along with the natural edge and take on the protruding aspect of a ray. Once again, we have reduced the minimum distance to 0.05 millimeters, but not less. All the technical rules are to be strictly respected in the case of retouching too. Review them if you're not sure to remember them all perfectly. In the lesson on the combined removal, we clearly see that the internal angle a few days after the treatment is practically empty. Most likely they have been applied fans 4D and above. And because formed by eyelashes with a thickness of 0.10 millimeters, they are simply detached. We check that there are no unwanted adhesions. You must see every lash well separated from those nearby. At the base as on the edges, each bundle must adhere to a single natural eyelash. We remove the patch and we brush, and we tell the customer that he can open his eyes. This is the result after retouching. An adjustment with volumes requires an average of 15 minutes per eye. As I said, a time reduced by about 30% compared to a complete treatment. Finally, we fill in the customer sheet the date, the same effect as the same arrangement of the volumes. Type of treatment, no longer new but retouching, and in the notes I will write that I have added more rays than on the first treatment.